Well, in our last segment, we talked about prevailing wage and the effect that has with jobs. And, we know employers here listen for tips and pieces of information that they can use. And we have some of that right now because we're going to talk about why people leave their jobs. And, of course, wages can be one factor, but there are a lot of reasons. And when you look at millennials now in this day and age, they really do take it to another level because they do frequently change jobs. That used to be when I came into the workforce. You don't want to change jobs too often. It makes you look unreliable. It makes you look like you can't hold down a job. That doesn't seem to be that mindset anymore out there. In fact, if you don't change often enough and you're of a certain age and younger, I almost wonder if it's the opposite. People wonder what's the matter with you. Are you not willing to get more experienced or move along? Well, let's visit this morning with business coach and workplace culture expert Shontaye Hawkins about this. Good morning, Shontaye.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay, and I appreciate you being here. Is there a mindset with millennials that they need to not let the grass grow under their feet too much?
Well, I think what's really, really going on is I like to say that they do have a little bit of bright, shiny object syndrome. And
I know what that is. Okay.
But here's
Squirrel.
the deal, too.
Yeah.
We really, employers really need to understand what millennials want, first and foremost. And I honestly believe that it's not much different than the other generations that are in the U.S. workforce. More so, they want job flexibility. They want to be able, and this, because we're so plugged in technology-wise, we can do conference calls from any and everywhere in the world, right? So why do I need to be at a job at my desk each and every day to complete my work? They want flexibility. And so when we look at some of the reasons why they leave, right? Employee, they're burnt out, they have bad bosses and the company culture. It's really easy for them to think about looking somewhere else for a position that could potentially meet those needs.
There was that movie Office Space. Where eventually, if you talk about workplace culture, eventually the guy with the stapler burns down the place. Okay, but I mean, there was this. I guess the mindset there was, the boss from hell, the guy who says, "Yeah, I need you to come in on Saturday again." So the boss from hell, you just keep put up with it. You put up with it, then you figure out a way to get your revenge, but you put up with it. This movie would have only lasted 5 minutes now, I think, because the person would have said, "Nah, I think I'm going to go. I think I'm good with this. Bye." And they would just they'd go. So you'd have a 5-minute movie because that part has changed. Is that just the shiny syndrome, or is there something that employers can learn from that in the way that they manage millennials?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There is definitely something that can be learned from that. We also have to look at, this is such a broad, this is really the world we live in right now. Everything is so instantaneous. And the loyalty, right? We think about fantasy football. It used to be like you were loyal to a football team. Right now, but with fantasy football and some of these other elements that are out there, you literally just pick players that you want, and you switch them out weekly if they're not a good fit for your team that week.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. Okay, you're right. Guilty. Present. Okay.
And so the loyalty piece, right, where you used to be loyal to a team and loyal to a company, that has diminished. It is diminishing rapidly, which is why if millennials are at a position and a job, they don't like it, they're burnt out, the culture is not a good fit for them, they don't like the boss, or the boss is mean to them, and like the Office Space example, right? They don't just take their stapler and move to the next desk and move to the closet and move to the basement. They actually take their stapler and leave.
Is there a certain fairness about this, though? In the way that maybe employees of another generation were too loyal to companies that didn't show them any loyalty when the bottom line was the bottom line and someone had to go, or as a group they needed to go, that millennials maybe took a lesson from that and said, hey, before I get the sack, I'm going to move on.
Well, you know what millennials have seen? They've seen a lot of failure, right?
Yeah.
With their parents being in those positions with companies for a very, very long time. I got to see this, when I was doing internships with the company, individuals that have been there 20 plus years, and I hadn't started working full-time professionally just yet. I was doing an internship, but I see these individuals rolling out boxes and boxes of their life. And it was really heartbreaking to see this because they had, I mean, it was like their lives they were rolling out in like 1 day or 2 days, right?
Sure.
And so millennials have seen that with their parents. Their parents are the ones that lost those positions after they dedicated 10, 15, 20, 30, years at a position, with a company. And there's so much divorce, all these things that contribute to them seeing that, no one's loyal. Companies aren't loyal. People aren't loyal. So if I don't like this job, I'm just going to find it before they get rid of me. I'm going to find something else before they get rid of me.
Yeah, they're not going to get married to a particular company. They may be into a particular livelihood, but a particular company is not something they are going to be shackled to as a way they would think of it compared to their parents' generation.
Absolutely not. They are really looking for, we really need to understand what it is that they want, because they want the flexibility. They want job flexibility. They want the training and learning, but that also has to be, you have to have a great culture for them to stay. They can't be burnt out. The things that they want, we have to find a happy medium so that they will stay at positions longer.
And before we let you go, do they have the ability to deliver if they're given that flexibility, if they're given the pluses of not being, quote unquote, shackled? Can they come through and deliver as a prior generation did?
Absolutely. Why not? We just teach and train, and we taught and trained the previous generation. Why not?
Shontaye Hawkins, business coach, workplace culture expert, talking about, what's the difference here with millennials? Some of the same factors they list are those of a prior generation, but how they want to handle it, how they want to go about dealing with those factors is very different than mom and dad and uncle and aunt. Shontaye, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, more coming up here. This is the Morning Wake Up.